Past the hills and rivers wide, where wildflowers freely bloom. In this land with skies so open, children play. In cities bustling bright and loud, cars and lights that never sleep, do they find a piece of sky? Where can our children play? Bring them fields of green and gold, let their laughter echo clear. In a world so tightly wound, where can our children play? Mountains whisper ancient tales, forests sing in harmony. Will these wonders slip away? Where can our children play? Beyond the screens and towers tall, where dreams once were born and bred, do they carve new paths of joy? Where can our children play? Let's be stewards of this earth, guard the spaces wide and free. Do they find a piece of sky? Where can our children play? Fields of green and gold, let their laughter echo clear. In a world so tightly wound, where can our children play? Bring them fields of green and gold, let their laughter echo clear. In a world so tightly wound, where can our children play?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Laurie Gagan. I'm part of the Wellness Crusaders. Welcome back to our show. Today, we're diving into a fascinating and often overlooked area of health, the connection between inflammation, blood clotting, and immune response, what we know as inflammothrombotic immunological response. We're also exploring how detoxification at the cellular level, particularly through an advanced form of zeolite, can support cardiovascular health in our increasingly toxic world. Joining me today, Dr. Nikolaos Tsirikos-Karapanos, a cardiovascular surgeon, a PharmD, a PhD, and the innovator behind ClearDetox Pro, a patented water-soluble zeolite supplement designed to bind and remove heavy metals and other environmental toxins at the cellular level. So whether you're a healthcare practitioner, a biohacker, or someone just trying to stay ahead of the health curve, this episode will offer clinical insights with real-world takeaways. So let's go ahead and jump in. You on the podcast today. But before we get started, what I would like to do is just have you spend a few minutes letting our audience know a little bit about you and some of the things that you're actually known for. So Dr. Tsirikos-Karapanos.
Laurie, thank you very much for this kind invitation, especially being next to Dr. Fleming. So I'm extremely excited to be with you today. My background is PharmD. I'm a fully trained board-certified pharmacist, fully trained board-certified medical doctor, fully trained board-certified cardiovascular surgeon. I worked at Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota for 5 years before forming my own company, Metron Nutraceuticals, in Cleveland, Ohio, where we are at the field of research and development and innovation in dietary supplements. We produce our own formulations based on our own intellectual property, consisting up to now to 16 patents. So with this, thank you very much again for this kind invitation and great pleasure.
Question, Dr. Nicholas. Oxidative stress and detox connection. Many people hear the term oxidative stress, but don't quite grasp its role. I think of it personally in terms of an apple that you've cut and then you set it on a counter and you come back an hour or so later and that apple is brown. Can you help our listeners understand how oxidative stress triggers the inflammothrombotic immunological response in cardiovascular health?
With pleasure, Laurie. First of all, you are right. It is like the apple that is exposed to oxygen, and then we have problems there. So let's start very simply. Oxidative stress is the stress that we have in a tissue or an organ because of oxidation. And this is something that happens every single day. We cannot stop it. Let me go back to what very wisely Dr. Fleming said. Everything is a matter of balance. Balance. Everything has to have metron. That's why we called our company Metron. Metron is the concept of the internal balance of a system. We were designed to have balance as human beings. We call it homeostasis. That means that whenever we have a problem, our body has the systems in order to fight against this problem. So oxidative stress is something that is happening normally, but we have the systems in place in our body to fight against this oxidative stress. How this happens, how this problem happens? Well, we have what we call radical oxygen species or reactive oxygen species, and these are the bad guys. Now, we have the mechanisms, we have the enzymes, we have the enzymic reactions, the biochemical reactions to overcome this problem. Again, at the health status, there is a balance. The problem occurs, we solve the problem. Our real problem happens when we cannot fight the oxidative stress that will occur. We lose the balance. So then the internal balance of our system is damaged. We can define this as disease or as expression of symptoms that are categorized as diseases. Now, why oxidative stress is so important? Well, it is so important because it applies to every single tissue of our body. This is not something for the central nervous system, or just the cardiovascular system, or just the gastrointestinal system. This applies to every single system of our body, every single organ of our body. Now, there are natural substances that we are using, we take them from our food, to fight against this stress that is caused by oxidation, the oxidative stress. Antioxidants. Many food substances are natural antioxidants, and we can use them to fight back. This is for the healthy metabolism. So our metabolism works, we are able to fight this back, homeostasis works, we keep balance, we are okay. Let's see what can happen so then we have problems. Well, there are many reasons for this. Number one, environmental factors, what we call pollution, okay? Smoking, radiation, exposure to many kinds of toxins. Speaking chemically, inorganic toxins like heavy metals, organic toxins like herbicides, pesticides, and also composite toxins like the particulate matter. Specifically, the particulate matter, 2.5 tiny particulate matter, like dust, is a big time problem because it sits in our cells and it triggers oxidation. So these are, pollutants that cause problems that we should be able to fight against unless something goes wrong. Now, what can go wrong? Well, first of all, our food. Dr. Fleming, I will use the famous quote that the great grandfather of all of us, the great Dr. Hippocrates, 25 centuries said very wisely, let the food be the medicine and let the medicine become the food. Well, when Hippocrates said this, again 25 centuries ago, people didn't use to soak their food on glyphosate. People didn't use to spray their foods with herbicides and pesticides. And Laurie, all these substances, chemical substances, are designed by pharmaceutical companies to have a high level of water solubility, because having high level of water solubility can be absorbed by the roots of the plants. Well, guess what else is happening with this high water solubility? These substances get into our body by the food that we eat, the air that we breathe, and the water that we drink. Let's stop for a moment here. Food that we eat, water that we drink, air that we breathe. How we can stop these substances by getting in our body? Answer, we cannot. We cannot stop drinking water. We cannot stop eating food. We cannot stop breathing. And again, there are several marketing approaches out there saying, well, I only eat organic. Good. And, organic is fine. But, the last time that we checked the global map, it was impossible to identify where exactly this organic land is, that I assume they have organic water there. They have organic air. So this strawberry grew up by having organic water. Nice marketing approach, does not apply to reality. So the problem is that our natural defense that could be helped by the food cannot, because we manage to start destroying our food. And then we have repercussions. Now, there's another problem here. We don't have repercussions only from one organ or only from one system. Let me explain why is this important. Let's give a simple example. You walk, you sleep, you fail, you have a broken leg. Okay, that's a problem of this bone. You're going to fix that. You're going to do surgery or put a cast, or do something. You're going to solve this problem. It's a single dimension problem. The problem with environmental toxicity and its repercussion in our inability to fight with the oxidative stress relies in something which is very, very important. Our actions, our homeostatic mechanisms to defend ourselves are chemical reactions in our body, everywhere in our body, in our cells. The problem is that heavy metals and other environmental toxins, organic and inorganic molecules, are a factor or a cofactor, certainly a common denominator for many wellness problems and many health problems, because heavy metals and environmental toxins interfere with many biochemical pathways in our body, and they influence these biochemical pathways, making them to malfunction or go slow. So it's a very complex issue here. That's why you see people that they have hypertension and digestive problems and this and that and the other thing. How is it possible to have 10 conditions at the same time? Well, because you get in your body toxins that interfere with all the systems that malfunction and create these conditions for your wellness, and after a certain point for your health, and sometimes can become lethal.
That's a great explanation. Thank you for that. Dr. Tsirikos, and I'm so used to calling you Dr. Nikolaos.
That's fine.
Dr. Tsirikos, your innovative work in coronary artery flow at Mayo Clinic resulted in 2 prestigious awards, the Grillo Award and the Robert Emery Award. Can you tell our listeners about the inspiration behind this work?
Oh, thank you, Laurie. Well, my work is based is a quantitative coronary artery flow analysis model, and my work was based partially on the work of Dr. Fleming, who developed, who is the first one who expressed the need to have something more functional in the coronary flow. Before Dr. Fleming's work in the world of cardiac surgery, we had the coronary angiography, which is the one that you inject the dye in the coronary arteries and you have the moving shadows. And then it was insufficient sometimes to evaluate appropriately the patient and see how many bypass grafts we need to have in this bypass operation. And then Dr. Fleming is coming and saying, no, we need something that will allow us to see the functionality. So he introduced the fractional flow reserve. Is not what you see in a moving shadow of the coronary angiography, but by applying the fractional flow reserve, as introduced by Dr. Fleming, we could say, yes, we have a problem here, or we don't have a problem here. And again, this happened when I was in my early years, late years of medical school and immediately before my residency. And then I said, okay, all right, so what exactly, how can we exactly find what is the normal coronary flow? We're in the operating room, okay, we perform a bypass operation, we have the technology to measure the flow of the graft, and we say that will be the left internal mammary artery to the LED, and we have 40 ml of flow. Okay, what does that mean? First, we have flow. Okay, all right, our anastomosis is good. Second, we have 40 ml, not minus 40. That means we have flow to the heart, not from the heart. Okay, that's good too. What the number 40 means? The question in my mind was like, what was the coronary flow in this coronary artery, in this human being, before he became a patient? And then I said, why don't I know this? What have I missed? Well, I've missed nothing, because the information is not in the physiology books, believe it or not. So then, Laurie, I would use something also from the automotive industry that I'm fan. Let's suppose that you have your car, new car, everything is fine. You drive the car, you press the gas pedal, the car does not accelerate. Oh no, we have a problem now. You get the car to the dealership. You say, look, I press the gas pedal, does not accelerate. The dealership is good and say, don't worry, we'll fix it. Here's the mechanic. Takes the keys and tells, don't worry, come in 2 hours, we're gonna be fine. Okay, you're happy now. And as you step out of the dealership, you turn and say, oh, by the way, what is the output of my engine in horsepower? How would you feel if the mechanic would say, oh, we don't know that? Believe it or not, that was exactly the case with the coronary artery flow before the innovative pioneering work of Dr. Fleming and before the work of many researchers all over the world, including the work that we did at Mayo Clinic. So this was the inspiration. And we did some good work. We showed for the first time that if you have ischemia, if you induce ischemia in one lung, then the coronary artery flow drops down. We proved that for the first time in the world. And actually, we connected this when we found the correlation between the coronary artery flow and the cytokine interleukin 6 and with cardiac troponin. This gives us the prestigious Grillo Award. Then, so we described two mechanisms at Mayo Clinic. We described the mechanism of how, and we explained how problems in the coronary arteries in the heart occur when we have ischemia outside of the heart. Okay? And the second mechanism we described is once you solve the problem of ischemia in the lung and you reestablish the flow of the blood to the lung, why coronary artery flow becomes worse initially. And we described the mechanism of the ischemia-induced reperfusion trauma. It was exciting. We were very happy that we could give some answers to some serious questions that surgeons face intraoperatively. The Robert Emery Award came after that because we were able to show for the first time that you can implant in the heart, in the left ventricular apex, you can implant on a beating heart an apical aortic valve to treat serious or severe aortic stenosis on a beating heart without compromising the coronary flow. This was a first. Unfortunately, we never thought to call, the Guinness Book of Record there to record that for the first time we measured 8 arterial flows. Nobody had done it before. We were the first that we did this at Mayo Clinic. Exciting times. I still feel, as Dr. Fleming said, I'm a little younger. I'm 58. But I think we share the same thing with Dr. Fleming. I think we both feel that we have just warmed the engine here.
Oh, I love it. Oh my gosh. Both of you, it's just so amazing what the two of you have been able to do for science. So, Dr. Tsirikos, I often hear you talking about chronic inflammation and systemic inflammation. And it's when one passes over the cellular membrane. It's where it does the most harm to the immune system. Can you tell our listeners a little bit about that so that they can understand?
I will. Permit me, Laurie. Well, it's enjoy listening to Dr. Fleming. We could have this, for many hours running. Couple of comments. Genes. If your genes are that bad, that can be lethal to you, trust me, you will not blame your parents because you will die in utero or you will die a little later. So stop blaming genes. Genes are where they are, but there are other things that we can do, to upregulate, downregulate proteins that are made by these genes so we can do something. Comment 1, comment 2. Unfortunately, when ethics are outside of the room where science is produced or of the room of the science is broadcasted, the outcome is not science, is pseudoscience. And these people who do that are not real scientists. These people are scammers. Third, we are all together in this. If we learn something with this pandemic is that the health of our neighbor is very important, not only to our neighbor. The health of our neighbor is very important also to us. So, there are not things that we can do to squeeze ourselves somewhere in the safe zone and everything is going to be okay for us. Let the others die. Yeah, this does not apply. Okay, with these comments, it's very important to understand that all the biochemical reactions are happening in our cells. Okay, and in our cells, we have the engine of the cells, which is the mitochondrion. Laurie, mitochondria used to be independent organisms. And these organisms at one point could not survive. So at this point, there was a synergy between other small organisms, single cell organisms, that they wanted more energy. And they said, why don't we cooperate? Laurie, we have our own DNA. Our mitochondria have their own DNA, the mitochondrial DNA. And when something goes wrong there, we have the mitochondrial diseases and so on. But the whole battle is with the cell. I said many years ago when someone copied and started saying this, you can't be well if you don't fix the cell. Cannot. Or you can, put a band-aid in your wellness and health. Yeah, things are not going to be okay. And the whole battle is at the cellular level. And this is the reason that we created our formulations to be water soluble. And we designed them in such a way to be able to cross cellular membranes, to be absorbed in the gut, to have a systemic action. And not only our formulations, our detox formulations are acting at the cellular level, but they are acting at the subcellular level in the mitochondrium, where the whole battle, this is the battlefield for wellness. But it is extremely important to understand that you can put a makeup, you can make your hair. This is not fixing your cells. You need to be able to help the homeostatic mechanisms of your body to maintain homeostasis at the cellular level. One more comment. Laurie, let me simplify something that Dr. Fleming said. I think I explained what Dr. Fleming did with the fractional flow reserve, gave us the tool and the methodology. As the cardiologists and cardiac surgeons, to understand what is the actual need for this patient this moment. That's in the field of cardiology and interventional cardiology and cardiac surgery. What Dr. Fleming is doing right now, he's doing this functional analysis, not a static thing. Let me see one value of one parameter. But his model is doing this, his methodology is doing this at the holistic level, at the human body level. And that's unique. I hope that our colleagues, cardiologists, medical doctors, and practitioners in the whole spectrum of healthcare and wellness start thinking this way, because we have a holistic problem to solve. Our wellness. It's not one tissue. It's not one system. It's not one organ. Everything is interrelated. So that's where we are heading. I think Dr. Fleming is paving the road for serious research and application of the findings of this research for the medicine and the wellness as it will be applied for the next 50, 100 years.
I like that. Thank you very much. Dr. Tsirikos, you've been at the forefront of detox science for well over a decade. Tell me a little bit about the water-soluble clinoptilolite, zeolite, that you invented, and how does that work at the cellular level?
Right. With pleasure. Let's make one correction though. I didn't invent it. If you invent something that does not exist, you make it. We discovered it. We found how to extract it. Let me explain. Zeolites are crystals made when volcano lava goes in the seawater. All right. So zeolites are made millions of years ago. Now, zeolites can attract and retain heavy metals and other organic toxins. All right. So far, easy. Toxins get in our body. Let's give a zeolite to attract these toxins? Well, it's not exactly like that, because these toxins, as said before, have high level of water solubility, are absorbed in the gut, circulate, and distributed in several compartments. We give the zeolite to do it by mouth. Well, unfortunately, zeolites are not water soluble, so they cannot cross cellular membranes, so they will stay only in the gut, and after a couple of bowel movements, they are out of the human body. So here is the paradox. What we give in order to take toxins out of the human body cannot do it, because cannot be absorbed. Moreover, and that's the second problem of zeolite powders, as we find in nature, is that they are full of free heavy metals. And these free heavy metals, not bound heavy metals, can be absorbed in the gut. So here was the problem. Zeolites cannot be absorbed, cannot offer systemic action, but the garbage that these zeolites are carrying, the elemental impurities, the free heavy metals, are absorbed. So when I was first involved with this, I said, wait a second here. So we are taking a zeolite to detox, but actually this zeolite is our daily toxic dose. Is there any chance that we can transform this non-water soluble zeolite powder into a water solution of water soluble zeolite powder? So I discovered nothing. I invented nothing, but I just applied, the appropriate methodology of hydrolysis to make the zeolite water soluble, and to make it able to cross cellular membranes. So we didn't create something in a laboratory that does not exist. We took a natural ingredient and we applied a natural method of hydrolysis to make it water soluble. Let me give you an example, because these words, hydrolysis, clinoptilolite, a lot of scientific terminology here. Imagine an apple in the apple tree. Okay? Is the apple natural product? It is. You take the apple out of the tree. Is the apple still natural product? It is. Now you cut the apple into pieces and you eat these little pieces of the apple. Are these little pieces of the apple, these little, fragments of the apple, natural products? Yes, they are. But now you can eat them in an easier way. That's, in an analogy, what we did with zeolites. It was difficult to do it. We did it. We got 16 patents for this, and we are based on formulation on our own intellectual property, and we have the know-how to do it.
Thank you for that that answer. As a follow-up to that, what is ClearDetox Pro able to detox? We know heavy metals, but what are some of the other examples of what it works on?
Everything that a zeolite can detox from, ClearDetox Pro can do it, but also can do it at a systemic level. There is literature related to zeolites and what they can detox from, which is inorganic compounds like heavy metals, and also organic molecules like herbicides, pesticides, mycotoxins, cellular fragments. So there is a very wide spectrum of inorganic and organic molecules that can be removed or captured and removed out of the body by zeolites. The difference between ClearDetox Pro and other zeolites, the differences are two. Number one, it has a systemic action. It does this systemically because it can cross cellular membranes. And Laurie, the pioneering work that we have done in order to support this claim. No other product in the spectrum of dietary supplements has done this. And the second advantage is that the water-soluble zeolite within ClearDetox Pro is purified because with our patented technology, we were able to remove from this zeolite the free heavy metals. So ClearDetox Pro is a safe and effective systemic detoxifier.
Wow. Fascinating. Thank you for that. Dr. Tsirikos, any final comments?
Only one. Dr. Fleming is spot on. We are at we. We are not at me or you or my little, place of safety. We need collectively to work in such a way to stop removing ethos from science, telling the truth, the whole truth, keep investigating, keep looking deep inside ourselves and expressing our needs and our questions for the surrounding of us in such a way that it is productive not only for us but for everybody. I think we are on the same page with Dr. Fleming, and I believe that there is a global movement, Laurie and Dr. Fleming, of classing Western medicine, science trained people like us. And if we start counting today, we have two medical doctors, we have a physicist, a pharmacist, a cardiologist, a nuclear cardiologist, a cardiac surgeon, two inventors, two PhD holders. Am I saying it right? So we have 11 people here and an amazing organizer who makes this possible to go to people out there, which is you, Laurie. So what our audience is experiencing today, it has a collective, added value, I believe more than 100 years for this 1 hour and 24 minutes so far. So we are at we, and as Dr. Fleming said, in his 69 young and my 58 young, we have just warmed the engine, and we can assure, and I speak for both of us now, we can assure you that we are here to stay, and better days are ahead of us.
I love that. I love that. So thank you both, Dr. Tsirikos-Karapanos, for this fascinating conversation. You've helped bridge the gap between clinical insight and practical everyday health strategies. I pray that God watches over both you and your families. And I'm very honored to have had this podcast today with you. So thank you and good night.
Bring them fields of green and gold, let their laughter echo clear. In a world so tightly wound, where can our children play? Bring them fields of green and gold, let their laughter echo clear. In a world so tightly wound, where can our children